Bismillah Rahman Rahim. This is our second part for the chapter of overcoming resistance. The remaining part, I would like to re explain this part of the chapter restraining forces blocking implementation of change program. Number one thing is that uncertainty regarding change, fear of unknown, disruption of routine, loss of benefits. So, restraining forces is basically that is the in additions to the driving forces of change, implementation of the organizational development change program, this that needs to change or that needs to take account of the restraining forces of changes. The advocates of the change may assume that everything will actively support the change because its goals are, you can say that, worthwhile, uh, but it's sometimes not what happens, uh, since the change always alters the status quo. This we remember it. I previously already discussed with you that the status quo is one of the factor that people don't want to change it. People don't want to change the status quo. They are not interested in to change the status quo. Management should anticipate some employee resistance and plan for this eventually in the change strategy. So the failure of the change management, the failure of management to win acceptance of the proposed changes can be one of the most significant element or one of the most significant factors that could be the role towards the change program or OD change program. The success of organizational development programs may depend to a great extent on the ability of those doing the plannings. This is very important thing that whenever you're talking about the change management program, it's all about that how you plan the things. Managers can benefit from the knowledge of sociologists, social psychologists, and cultural and anthropologists who have studied the process of change. So these kind of the studies are these kind of the areas can help you to strengthen the process of change or to can trigger up the change process more effectively. So whenever there is a resistance, whenever there is the kind of the resistance implies give you in the organization are implies showing resistance to not effectively implement the change process. So these kind of the activities can help them. These kind of the activities can facilitate the uh, overall change process or overall organizational development process. Number one thing is uncertainty regarding the change, that is the comfort zone. Nobody is leaving their comfort zone. This is one of the point. This is one of the factor that people is not leaving their comfort zone. So this is one of the challenge for the organizations that people is not leaving it, people is not implementing the change, people is not accepting the change, or they are again and again resisting or creating resistance for the change. So this is a psychological resistance to change. This is in fact a psychological resistance to change because they want to avoid uncertainty. Past ways of doing things are well known and predictable. That's why they're not interested in the change. And unwillingness to give up familiar tasks or relationships may cause resistance. So these are the reasons that they feel more comfortable doing things the same way as always. So this is known as the comfort zone. Then the second important point is already explained to you, but I'm explaining in a more detailed. Fear of unknown. A large part of the resistance to change stems from a fear of the unknown. People become anxious when they have to exchange the old and familiar for something new. and uncertain. Lack of information or understanding often leaves a vacuum that is filled by rumor, speculation, and insecurity. There are rumors people is talking about whenever you are implementing change. So people are creating rumors against you, and that that change process create a lot of problems for us. That change process might create the kind of the you can say that the downsizing in the organization, layoff is the process. So these are some of the issues, these are some of the factors that create rumors and speculations and insecurity in the organizations. That's why people is not accepting the change as well. Disruption of the routine is also the same thing as already explained in the uncertainty. Disruption of routine is whenever you change it, whenever you implement a new process, whenever you are implementing a new system in the organization. So this might be the case for the resistance, because people are habitual in their routine lives, in their patterns, are likely to encounter resistance, because human behavior is governed largely by habit and routine. If a person tries if a person tries to cope with situation and succeed, that person will usually continue to operate in the same way. So the familiar is preferred, and this is especially true when the established behavior has been successful until now. So people is not want to change their routine, and they are very much happy, and they are successful in doing all these things from the last 10 years or from the last 5 years, and now abruptly you are asking for to change their routine. So definitely they create resistance, and they not accept your um, all kind of the change process. So as the previously we discussed it, that you have to motivate them, you have to involve them psychologically or anthropologically. Anthropology is basically, or anthropologically means that you engage them through their cultural values, involve them through their cultural practices, or engage them through their cultural aspects. So this is the kind of things that the people is that engage them in a very important or in a very meaningful. People may be conveniently forget some learning if it is in conflict with their present behavior. So this is how they, if they are already learned a lot of things in a previous methods, in a previous learning practices, and now you are changing it, so they question their previous learnings. They're asking for that what we learned in the previous time frame, that do you think that these kind of the learnings are not now any much utilizable? So these are the questions, these are the things, these are the kind of the resistance and negate that possible influence of new information upon their earlier attitudes and behavior. Loss of benefits, what isn't for me, that what kind of the change, when a change causes implies to feel pressured, they may interrupt the change as a loss of individual security. You can say that there may be the emotional loss associated with the change. Yeah, another things that their comfort zone is disturbing, so they are asking for the benefits. The previously they are getting benefits, and now they are not getting the benefits, are not up to the standards they are. So these all the things that linked with threat to the security is also another point. Threat to the position power, redistribution of power, mm, disrupt existing social networks, conformity to norms and culture. So already explained in a previous slides already, threat to the security means that people has a kind of the fear that this change can disrupt our daily routine life. uh, Threat to the position power means that the shift of the power to one from one person to another person. For example, when you're talking about nowadays in a technological era, when you're talking about that this technological era gave a lot of powers to the students as well. The teachers has the power as well, no doubt about it, but the students has also a lot of technological, because of that technological power has the power. So this is a threat to the position power whenever we are talking about online education. So there is internationally, there is a discussion goes on that this is basically the essence of learning, that how teachers cope with this technological era, how teachers are utilizing this technological era, and how they facilitate students. As a lot of students call me, and that a lot of students message me, and a lot of students are interacting with me that, sir, there are some of the things that teachers are sharing with us is already available on internet, is already available on YouTube. So what is the need of this online education then? What is that teacher or that particular teacher is contributing to the to a particular chapter, or what we are not understanding the things effectively. There are these kind of the observations, these kind of the grievances coming from the students as well. Now it's the responsibility of teachers to satisfy their students in the best level. Nowadays there is a online courses available, there is a Harvard courses available, although they are very much expensive, no doubt about it. But a student who is living in Peshawar, or a student who is living in Islamabad, a student who is living in Lahore, they can easily grab those online courses. So the best thing is that for this change, this online change on online system is a change thing. So the best thing is that you are utilizing it in the best manner and showing your strength to the students and as well as to the organizations in the best level. So this is the best thing. This is the best element that can overcome that threat. This is basically a threat that we cannot compete with the foreign countries, we cannot compete with the developing countries. Obviously we cannot compete with the developed countries infrastructures, with the developed countries their facilities, with the developed countries internet facilities. With the developed countries there are a lot of other elements, they have a lot of other facilities available to the students as well as to the faculties as well as. So these kind of the facilities, these kind of the uh, you can say that support is not available here due to a lot of reasons. There's due to the lack of budgets, due to the lack of infrastructures. People are complaining that the student who are living in Chitral or who are living in the Dir or in the upper Dir areas or in some of the rural areas, they cannot have the proper internet facilities though. So they are blaming, they have the grievances, they are claiming that we are not receiving the quality education. So these are all the things whenever you're talking about change. So there is a the threat to the security as well as, and as well as there is a position power as well as. I explained you that when you're talking about online education, there is a position power as well as. So for teachers, there is a threat to the position power as well. If your student is very much vigilant, if your student is very much aware about the online education, or if your student is getting a lot of knowledge from the internet, and your explanation is not sufficient for him or her, then this is a threat to the position power. Obviously this is a threat to the position power. So this is the responsibility of, now this is the responsibility of teachers to play a very important and to play a very imperative role in this. Redistribution of power means that, the simple thing is that the innovations in that reorganization invariably implies a redistribution of power and influence. So whenever you're talking about innovations, so this is the redistribution of the power. For example, when you're talking about machineries, you are installing machineries in your systems, in your infrastructures, are adding in your infrastructures. So this shift from the labors to the machineries. So this is a redistribution of power. Now power is shifted to the machineries, taken from the employees and shifted to the machineries. So the machineries can take over the charge and they have the more responsibilities. So these are the redistribution of the power as well as in the organizations. So you can say that most to lose will be most likely to disapprove of or resist proposed changes. So whenever you're talking about machineries, whenever you're talking about infrastructures development, whenever you're talking about the lot of things, a lot of facilities, so these are the issues. These are the, do you people ever think about that, why Pakistan is not improving? Do you ever think about that our systems are not improving it? Because one of the reason, there is a lot of reasons, no doubt about it, there is a lot of factors. I'm not discussing that. This is not a political science subject, this is a change management. So only add to this redistribution of power. Because of this redistribution of power, there is a lot of mess created in our Pakistan. That's why a lot of change process or a lot of change or a lot of reforms is not 100% give you the results. 70% of the change is failed. One of the reason, there is a lot of reasons I already explained to you. There are a lot of reasons, but one of the reason is the redistribution of power, that people is thinking about that the power is will be shift from us to the other's body. Our power is will be shift from one department to another department. So many things that the things is that in a later period of time, in a future period of time, you will see that there is a lot of activities who are doing by the humans will be shifted to the computers, will be shifted to the technologies. So there will be no need for that kind of the jobs which is already created or which is already available in the organization. So we can talk about that. This is all things about, this is all discussing the redistribution of the power. Disrupt existing social networks. This is obviously your existing social networks will be disrupt. How their technical changes are more readily acceptable, and when disturb the existing social networks, their friendships, their colleagues, informal terms may be threatened by changes because of the structural changes, because of the shift in the organization. So these are the already activities which can disrupt or disturb the existing social networks between the colleagues, between the relationships, and this all thing. Conformity to norms and cultures. Conformity to norms and cultures means that already existing practices in the organizations can create a lot of conformity and people do not want to change it. By conformity, we mean that we already accept norms and cultures, and we are not in the state of the mind that we can change it. We are not accept it. We cannot change it. Ultimately, we cannot change it. We cannot change the norms and cultures of the organization. So this is a conformity. By conformity, another example is that when you enter to the organization and your boss is saying you that you can do it in my way, so you accept it because you cannot argue with your boss. But in actually, you are realizing that whatever your boss is saying is not right. So this is basically when you accepted anything wrong, so and implemented it in the same way. So it means that you are the part of norms and culture. When you are without questioning anything or without raising any questions to the management, this means that now you are the part of norms and cultures. When you are the part of norms and culture, this means that this is a conformity. So this is how we can say that. One of the persons in a previous meetings told me that teachers are not doing anything. So faculty is not contributing to the society as well. So if I accept it, in the same way, and I am saying the same, in the same way that faculty is not doing anything, faculty is not doing anything, this means that now I am the part of that norms and culture. Once I accept the norms and culture of the society, uh, the the tradition of the society, this means that I'm also the part of that culture. So this is a conformity. Or when people are taking bribery for the promotions, when they are promoting any unfair practices or the kind of the exploitation in the society, and we are also being the part of that exploitation or humiliating behavior from the management or from the organization, so this means that we are now a part of that culture. So this means that this is a conformity aspects, and this conformity can damage the change process is so effectively and damaging the society as well as in a very irrecoverable part. This can damage your society very dangerously. Let me clear you one thing, that this conformity is very dangerous for the society. So this is not good for the society, this is not good for the change process. Already I explained you in my previous chapters that whenever there is a power distance, there is a very strong, you can say that there is a very parallel connection of between power distance and a conformity. This is a very accurate thing, that what this power distance create, power distance create one thing, that there is a distance between a top management and a middle management and an operational management. The operational management employees cannot raise questions and cannot ask about their rights from the top management. Whoever whoever discuss about their rights, they have been threatened from the top management, that why you're asking these kind of the questions. This is a kind of the dilemma, this is the kind of the, you can say that a kind of the concept which explain power distance. Whenever organization or whenever the society is promoting power distance, this organization intentionally or unintentionally creating a conformity in the society as well as. This is very clear that whenever you are promoting or whenever you are supporting power distance, this means that you are also being the supporting of the conformity as well as. Conformity is that you know it, that you accept the norms and cultures, whatever that is, either that is right or wrong, you accept it in the ways that explain to you, and you not raise a single question against them or against that norms, against that cultural, against that standards, against that substandards, whatever that thing is. So this is basically a conformity. This is also one of the block for restraining forces. Then the driving forces and restraining forces act in tandem. You can also refer to the case study explained in your book. Sorry, I can also share with you so you can study it um, um, in a very good manners. So the driving forces and the restraining forces, force field analysis explained to you. This is your minor assignment as well. Find out what is force field analysis, and if you still not get in about, or you not understand about the force field analysis, you can ask from me, so we will discuss it. So I would not explain in this part because I already explained to you. So if you still have any questions related with the force field analysis, please ask from me. Next, moving further to end of this chapter, strategies to lessen resistance, education and communication, create a vision, participation and involvement of members, facilitations and support. Um, then we can say that the other thing is that negotiation and agreement. So these are all the things that by creating education for the change, by creating a lot of awareness, by creating a lot of seminars, and with the help of that seminars, with the help of that creating education, there is a lot of mediums through which you can educate the peoples. You can, for the social community process, for social community aspects issues like the safety projects, like you can say that the cleanliness projects, environmental cleanliness projects. For these kind of the issues, you can create a lot of education, you can create a lot of communication. In Pakistan, one of the basic problems is cleanliness, and this cleanliness problem is not related to the government. It's not the responsibility of government. I'm sorry to say you that this is not the whole and sole responsibility of government. This is the responsibility of the people who are living in this society, and they not take their responsibility seriously. They are cleaning their own home and pollute the external environment. They all mm, they all trash their uh, the garbage to the streets. They throw their all garbage to the different roads and clean their own cars or cleans their own homes, and not worried about the streets. They're not worried about the roads. They're not worried about the infrastructures. They're not worried about the street lights. They're not worried about so many other things, and give damage or damages to the streets, damages to the roads, damages to the infrastructures, and so many things. You people are now in the last days listened about or heard about the news that people are giving are damaging the BRT, or whatever the reason is, whatever the factor is, that project is good or not. That's not the thing. That's not the case. But the thing is, once that project is completed, and once that project is now operationalized and functional, so no one can damage that project, because this is now the state property. This is now a public property, so we cannot damage these kind of things. So this kind of the things required education. These kind of the elements required a lot of communications with the people, communication in terms to create awareness about the giving the benefits to the cleanliness, explaining the importance of the clean environments, what kind of the cleanness environments give to the overall general society. As we know that a lot of people are fire up that garbage in the streets and all that stuff in the streets and the in the roads, and a lot of things that to for whatever their own reasons. Do you know that this create a lot of dirty or a lot of polluted environment, which can affect the lungs, the chest, and create a lot of problems to the individuals as far as their lungs and as far as their chest problems. So these kind of the educations to given to the large level or to the mass level can give to the lessons, and this can give a lot of improvements to the environment as well as, and these are the strategies to lessen the strategies. Here's a topic that lessen resistance, sorry. So how can you, this is the education can give you the one of the factors, one of the elements can give you the obvious reasons for that. Create a vision. Create a vision is also another important part for lessen the resistance. Whenever you're talking about the betterment, whenever you're talking about the improvements, whenever your organization or you yourself is talking about the development, you have to create the vision. First, you have to create a vision. This is very important. Whenever we are talking about strategies, before going for strategies, you have to explain a vision. Without a vision, you cannot talk about strategies. Let me clear you these things is a very much important that first we draw a vision, then we draw a mission in the organization. You can say that, or in the strategic management, or when you're talking about the strategies, or whenever you're talking about strategies, first you have to explain the vision. Vision might explain the 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, or more than the 50 years, your plannings. That what you want to see you in the next 10 years, where you want to go in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. and how you achieve that vision, and how you achieve that objective, that you, whatever you think about for the next 20 years. For example, I am thinking for the next 20 years that I would be the one of the person who will be a millionaire. So how I would be the millionaire? For that, I need first I obviously first the vision is, and then later on I explain the objectives, and then the objectives, and then they draw strategies, and then the kind of the goals as well as. So these are all linked up with these aspects. Participation and involvement of members, obviously giving them the trainings, involving them in decisions makings, communicate with or involve them in the best manners, and engage them in an effective manners. These are all the activities can engage them, and this all can participate them in a very effective manner. Facilitations and support trainings and development part, and these all things, negotiation and agreement, if the people is not accepting your change, or if people is not creating problems, so just you can negotiate with that. You can create a lot of techniques to negotiate with the political resistors. Some examples include union agreements. One of the examples, increasing an employees pension benefits in exchange for early retirements, transferring employees to others divisions instead of laying them off, and negotiating agreements with the head of departments. So these are all the things that comes up in the negotiation. Political alliances can help reduce the resistance to change. This is also one of the another example, building a coalition, just as politicians do, of people who hold divergent points of view can be powerful force for change. So these are all the activities to win an election and to win an agreement, and can take and can discuss with these major part to the agreement as well. Then the leadership reward systems. System is also playing very important role. Explicit, explicit and implicit coercion. Coercion is climate conducive to communications, power strategies. Leadership is already cleared to the peoples and already explained to the people. But I would like to explain the other part, that is like the reward system. For reward system, we have to see this of the slide, that there's a there is a different kind of the reward system. There is employee stock ownership plan, grant stock options to broad section of employees. This is one of the reward systems that we can give to the employees. Gain sharing is also another reward system that recognizes value of a specific group uh, mm, of the workers based on their measurable characteristics. There are their measurable characteristics, so that become the basis of calculating pay. Knowledge based pay, reward system based on the knowledge or skills a worker has. And the open book management implies so a skills worker has open book management, implies sees companies financial records to analyze problems for them. So these are all the things that we can share with the employees in the reward systems. Then other thing is that related with the power strategies, techniques for lessening resistance to change, that uses power structures in organization, profit sharing, using the performance of business to calculate employees pay. So these are some of the key points, or these are some of the major points that is covered your reward system. Now the another thing is the explicit and implicit coercion. People are sometimes forced to go along with the change by explicit or implicit threats, internal or external threats, in involving loss of job, loss of promotion or raises. When the president of one company, for example, our managers, uh, uh, are its managers to participate in quality improvement program, they sat with their to to the conference table. In some situations, employees who refuse to change may be dismissed or transferred. Already explained to you in a previous that these are the kind of the threats. Some methods, you can say that infrequent risk and make it more difficult to gain support for future change programs. So organizations can introduce the teamwork and have found that few employees cannot make the transition to working cooperatively with others in teams. So these workers are given the opportunity to transfer to work situations where they do not have to work interdependently with others. So these are the explicit and implicit, external or internal coercive part from the employees. So you can talk about and you can discuss it about, or you can share up their roles with the teams, and if they are not happy with the teams, so you can transfer them to those units which can give them or which can help them in a interdependently part. Then climate conducive to communications, creating a climate where everyone involved in the change programs feel free and not threatened to communicate with others can minimize resistance in the long run. This is how we can say that a climate conducive to communication. And then the last thing is the power strategy. What is the meaning of the power strategy is that OD practitioners have historically been reluctant to deal with the use of power in our organization, sorry. To some extent, power strategies are related with the organizational development values, but most organizations operate with a system of some type that sanctions and uses power, and the organization's member are motivated to some extent by the perceived power of the organization. It may be necessary to use the power structure in an organization to persuade its member of an OD programs and the worthiness of the OD practitioners and all the other activities. So this is how the power strategies mean that in some of the cases your organization can use the power and they can impose change on the individuals. This is another case studies I will share with you, so you can read it out and sorted out the question. Then the keywords. This is how we discuss the driving forces, increase client system to implement proposed changes. Already discussed with you the employee stock ownership, gain sharing, open book management, power strategies, techniques for lessening resistance to change that uses power structure in an organization, profit sharing, uses the performance of business to calculate employee pay, restraining forces that block implementation of a change program. So there are strategies that overcome, how we will overcome the restraining forces. This all about chapter is all about that, how that we can. So the next chapter is about intervention, is very much important chapter for the. So we have to I have to give you some of the steps or some of the elements that you have to go through it in your minors assignments, and you will read it. I will share it the OD skills simulation 7.1 and forms teams of the six and assign roles, as well as complete step 1 and 2 of the OD skills and simulations and other things as well as. And then I will also share with you the read and analyze the case as well as. So this conclude our chapter number 6, and moving further to the chapter number 7, and then after completing chapter number 7, we left with only one chapter. Uh, I would like to complete 8 or 9 chapter for this course. Read out this chapter from the books, as well as listen out my slides, as well as if you have any ambiguity, if you have any problems relating with any topics, you can ask from me through our LMS system, through our WhatsApp group, whatever is for you, you can ask from me. So we will discuss about this. So this conclude our chapter number 6, overcoming resistance to change. So we already completed almost 7 chapters. This is actually 6 chapters, but we completed 7 chapters for this course. Some of the chapters already discussed from the change management part. So almost we completed 7 chapters. I think some of the students can also share their views how many chapters we completed so far, and if you have any still have any questions, so you can ask, and you are more welcome to ask any kind of the questions from me. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening me, and thank you very much for this participation as well as. So thank you very much.